So yeah, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to say something about this Dutch initiative. Well, it's a little bit based on a scientific program that was in the past. It's called NanoNet, and we will have to develop further. And I try to explain a little bit how that went in the Netherlands itself, because I think in every country it's a different size and different ways. Well, as you know, Holland is a very small country, or you could say nano country in this respect. And so we focused on different subjects, and not only on the research but also on the valorization. And I hope to explain a little bit about that. Well, the idea of the whole program is initiated by the Dutch government was to have a kind of like, this morning also you said, a kind of ecosystem. So can we have developed not only the next 4, 5 or maybe 10 or 15 years, so to develop a situation in the Netherlands where the universities are doing the research and the company can benefit from that. And most of all, and I think that's best practice in that sense, also have the small medium enterprises that raises from this kind of initiatives. So to give you a little bit in the past, you have to say that there were 2 programs in the Netherlands very based on scientific research, and one of them was NanoNet. NanoNet, it was a program which involved almost all universities and one company. Well, not a small company, in this case it was Philips. But the program had ended to, this year or last year, and there was a lot of benefits came out, a lot of publications really on the scientific part. Also, one of the issues was that we had an infrastructure in the Netherlands. So combine all the infrastructure on nanotechnology on different places in the Netherlands. So have it headed by one person, etc. So doing so and spending a lot of, tax money to do the research on nano and microtechnology in the Netherlands, there was a question from the government, so how we can continue this. And it's only be the science, or is it also beneficial for, let's say, the companies, etc. So they asked me and some others also to write the strategic research orientation, or at least it was a nano initiative where we have the strategic agenda. And that was a kind of a task because we invited all main partners, that means all universities but all industries, to discuss the 3 things. The first, so what is good for the Netherlands? So what is the nanotechnology we want to do in the Netherlands itself? We can do not anything. So focus on some subjects, and if you focus, what we can do, what we have to add money to it in that sense. So these kind of workshops were organized all over the Netherlands, and there we had the strategic research agenda. It was a very important part, and also because we could convince the government to spend money on nanotechnology. Well, there is some difference with the NanoNet, and that is because of the government was so involved. Also, risk and technology assessment had to be a main part of this program. So with the appointment that 15% of all the nanotechnology research in the Netherlands, sponsored by governmental or tax money, has to spend on risk analysis and on technology assessment. That's very important to mention. Well, then the committee came with a proposal, and this proposal was first at the end of 2009, 2010. Finally, it was agreed upon. And this February, official the start, was what we call the Nano Next NL. Well, if you look into the subtitle, it's not only based on nano, because also we have to convince also the people that it's maybe the research started with nano, a lot of products came up to micro to the real world. So it became one big program where we did a study on fundamentals on nanotechnology. Here is an example of the quantum computing till the print head of, like, say, OC, etc. So this kind of whole development has to be supported by this program called NanoNext NL. So what came out, and I think that's maybe interesting for you as well, about what's the real research topic in the Netherlands. We had Well, we have generic themes and application areas. And if you look into the generic, we call it also the toolkits, then you can see that's the beyond more. So it's more, not more than more, what comes after the Moore's law. It's about nanomaterials. It's about bio-nano. And you see also nanofabrications and also on systems, etc. And then sensors and actuators. And on the application area, you see this area, focus area, this, I think maybe it's not typically in Holland, but it's really focused in Holland because also the top sectors in Holland itself, main subjects for the Netherlands, it's not surprised. This of course is water, but also it's nanomedicine, it's the food, and I have to see the energy. And that's also a theme that came along this morning quite often. So we look to how we can manage to make one program that has as well the generic part as the application areas. The generic part mostly done in the universities and institutes, and the application area on, well, the small medium enterprises and the large companies as well. So really it has to fix. And among all, as you see this large blue square, that is the risk analysis and technology assessment. Again, a very, very important part. So the program itself now has a budget of 250 million euro. And that's on the generic and the application themes. And among that, a budget of 50 million for the infrastructure. To give you an idea, this 250 million euro is 150 from the government, 125 from the government, and 125 comes from companies and industries, from the universities and institutes. 30% of the whole program budget is together with the industry. Industry pays for that. So it's the first time, at least in the Netherlands, that so huge amount of money is collected through the whole community to do this research program. It's around about, well, now it are 30, but at that time 28 programs running, so each program runs around 10 million euro. And those programs are fixed in the themes I showed before. And as I told you, NanoNet was a program with the universities and one company. And here, this program runs with more than 114 companies. Well, they are not all as big as Philips, but to give you an idea about the complexity of such a program, that's really, you have to have all the signatures and all the, well, the EP running. So at least the EP already took us almost 3/4 of a year to get everything done. Goal with that, is really to achieve such an ecosystems. And there are hard key performance indicators. There are 300 PhD students will run in the program, divided over the country. And there were a lot of patents made out of it. We agreed upon that at least 10 new spin-off companies will rise from this program. And we focus really on health issues, on energy issues, as I told you before. And also, well, because of it's a Dutch program, it doesn't mean it's just internally, it's just almost partners has colleagues in Europe. So this program is also forms the basics in Holland for have a lot of European collaboration as well. So it really has to be, in that case, for a lot of companies also start to explore also what's going on in Europe as well. So there are a lot of strategic colleagues in that. Well, this is not looking to all papers, but this gives you an idea of all partners, all universities, but a lot of large companies and the small and medium enterprises as well. At least that's the research part of the organization part. Now I want to go a little bit more in detail so what you want to achieve with it. Of course, it's very nice, 300 PhD students, 300 theses, but that you not rule the world with only theses. So there has to also be a valorization. Important in this is that in Holland with the 4 nanolabs, we collaborate and we make one nanolab NL. It's headed by one person, and well, to give you an example in practice, so if you go to Delft, where part of it, or in Twente, you have to pay the same price. So it's really, it looks like, although it has 4 campuses or 4 facilities, it's just one facility called Nanolab NL. And in Twente we just finished the one, and so the red building over there, this is last 5th of November, was built for, and with the old money of NanoNet, and now the apparatus inside will become from the NanoNext NL proposal. To give you an idea, so this is the Mesa Plus Institute where Istvan was talking about, and I'm very lucky to be the scientific director. Only in this institute, more than 500 people working on nanotechnology, with 250 PhD students located at the University of Twente. So I want to emphasize that this program is something, at least where I'm very enthusiastic about, is that it's about research, but also the focus on application and the focus on valorization. So if you're looking to the field now, and if you run to these conferences, you'll see that you have different parties. You have the universities, you have the institutes, you have the large companies, you have the small, medium enterprises who work with for the large companies. And you have the spin-offs, the new ones, who see there is a market for a new idea. And this kind of spin-offs really is a very important part of I think of the nanotechnology as a whole. Not only in Holland, but everywhere you see this happening. So those students who run and start new companies, they are the ones who first make nanotechnology applicable for us all. So it's very, very important. So since the NanoNet, we have around about 10 of these new startup companies in the Netherlands. And well, to give you an example, in Mesa Plus, we have 4 of them each year. And these are starting small, but are rapidly growing. And they're really fast growing. And I think that's something we really have to go on to. This is the market where it should be. So I think they will initiate the knowledge what's in the research institutes, and we'll make products out of it. Well, this is an example about an initiative. So how we can initiate this, how we can stimulate this. So there are a number of business accelerators at the university and the institutes who are looking to new ideas, who are looking to major patents, and who are looking to students who want to set up such a spin-off company. It's a very active role. They are partly supported by investors, partly supported by the universities, and partly supported by this initiative of NanoNext NL. And these are very fast-growing companies. What for example, we did is like old clean rooms, or not as modern as it should be clean rooms now, they will be rebuilt for this kind of companies. You see this in the area of Philips in Eindhoven, called the high-tech campus, or in the high-tech factory in the area of Twente. So these are really the new laboratories where it's all happening in that. And to conclude, I just want to show you some examples of those guys who start such a spin-off company and now are million market based. So Micronit makes all lab on a chip. So first year they made 1,000 lab on a chips. The lab on the chips made for different measurements on the contents of blood, for example. And this year they will have 100,000 laboratories, and next year they will make 10 million laboratories on a chip. Not only for in Netherlands, but also in Palo Alto in America. So this is really it's a market that will start inside a lab of the laboratory of Professor van den Berg, and now making a very nice market out of it. This is another completely different area you don't expect. This is we call it, it's blue for green. It's a chip who measures the blood of a cow. It measures directly the calcium content and the magnesium content of the blood of a cow. This is very important. It's called the cow disease. It just started with a simple idea, just like someone who makes a presentation, like an audience like you. At some point the question, can you measure this? Can you see the difference between the magnesium and the calcium? And you can with this kind of thing. Blue for Green now sells over 100,000 of these kind of apparatus all over the world to test blood of cows. So it's a very rapid application of a small spin-off company that comes just out of the lab. 4 years ago it was still in the lab itself. Now it's a complete product. And finally, because of due to time, because I can continue with a lot of these examples, it's this Ostendum. It's a way to measure, optical way to measure viruses And then the idea is, what you see is that you have you can measure the shifts in optical reflection, because if an antibody attacks to a virus, it's an apparatus that becomes smaller and smaller. It really goes into the manufacture of those viruses on the nanoscale. And this machine now can detect only one virus in 1 minute or so. So the viruses we're talking about nowadays, like I say, it's revolutionary, because you can use this apparatus at the airport as well as the meat industry, for example, to looking for viruses. Also a company that just started, say, 3 years ago, and now is the main market already for this kind of virus detectors. So I only want to, with these examples, I want to show you that the link of having the research done in the lab, and you stimulate it. You have to stimulate it by money, but if so, then a lot of things could happen, and could happen also in the nanotechnology. And that I want to show you with you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. So I was thinking about it, what this NL means in the end, but I think that stands for nano leader. Questions from the audience?
I have a question about your spin-outs and your development. I mean, could you say a little bit about the past history of your own institute and the Netherlands in general, in terms of previous funding programs, and how many spin-outs were generated, and how many of these, survived beyond 2-3 years? Because, the development of that part of the ecosystem, I think, is very, very important, and sort of learning lessons from previous successes, or even establishing how much funding went in per spin-out, and how many kind of incubation years within the university each spin-out had before they were spun out.
I try. Of course, it's a lot of information. I will compress it, and also speak a little bit about Mesa Plus, because I know about this most of all, and it's strongly related to the national programs. 10 years ago, they started this Mesa Plus Institute for Nanotechnology, just by a great guy. It's called David Reinout. We had the idea nano will be very important for the future. In 2004. The NanoNet program came. It was done by the government, and in Holland is money from the gas resources. So the gas price in Holland is coupled to the oil price. As the oil price goes up, the gas price goes up, and we all benefit from that. This was extremely important for the Netherlands, because suddenly, really in science, almost 200 million were just pumped in the whole system. And if you're looking to the outcome, so the Netherlands, with Switzerland and America, belongs to the highest level of output on papers and citation on that. Well, of course, Mesa Plus benefit from that, because now we have a complete new laboratory, a state-of-the-art laboratory. And within 10 years, we've grown from a few people to 500 people. And if I look now to the lab, our yearly budget is around about 15 million, where 16 million comes from the government and university. And the rest will be from the Dutch Science Foundation, European market, and from industries. So it's almost 20-20-20, you could say. And that's also a proud number, I have to say, because in the institute there is 360 reviewed papers a year. So every day a paper, even in the weekends. So but that's not because of me, but because of the brilliant scientists who are inside. So you can see that really, if a stimulation on a European level and on a governmental level really can help, but you always have to look to the next steps. And I think the next step is very important, to look to valorization and how we get nanotechnology in products. And that's what we all stand for. Is that something you... Okay, thank you.